Hello, EKN Nation. How are you today? Rob Howden, David Cole, joining you for a face-to-face here. It is, Wednesday, February the 17th, and we're kind of wrapping up really our coverage of the Superkarts USA Winter Series with this particular midweek face-to-face. We'll start things off with this, though. Happy birthday, David Cole.
You had to throw that in there.
I had to throw it in.
I was going to say, are you questioning the date? I know the date really well.
No, the date's correct. You're just getting super old. You know?
I am. I just mentioned to somebody 21 years ago was the first time I walked into a bar legally. So
Wow.
that's double that. It's been a long 21 years, as you can tell by my face.
It looks like you've been drinking for 21 years. Folks, again, welcome to another edition here of the Face-to-Face. We talked about the Superkarts USA Winter Series. We did our Outlet preview podcast last week. We did the debrief podcast as well, kind of wrapping things up. David was down at Homestead, Florida for the finale, the 2 rounds to cap off this year's Winter Series. I wasn't able to make the trek down. Xander Clemens, of course, on the mic. So for those of you who tuned into that, you heard Xander give you the play-by-play on Saturday and Sunday. But we'll wrap things up here with what is essentially it's the second time we've done this, essentially a winner's interview. We talked to Remo Rossetti and Liam Lech after the Challenge of the Americas race that David and I attended in Phoenix. Today, though, bringing on a couple of drivers who really were champions this particular Winter Series from the Rolison Performance Group. Ryan Norberg and Chase Hand joining us here on Face-to-Face. David, bring those guys in. They're in the Rolison Performance Group toter home from Ocala Grand Prix because no rest for you guys. You've already been on track practicing today, correct?
Yeah, we've done 2 sessions, I think, right?
Yes,
two
sessions.
sessions.
All right, well, let's put that behind us right now and look back on the weekend. Ryan, we'll start with you. It's always a body of work, right, for a 4-race series. When I'm announcing races, I don't think people think about this. Qualifying on pole is so crucial. Your pre-final results so crucial to win a championship. Last year, you were consistent. I don't think you won a race last year. This year, you're able to come in and do it again. Your 3rd championship in the SKUSA Winter Series. Great way to start off the new season.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's a good way to start the season. I would have liked to have won a race. We did win the first round other than the drop down. So we crossed the line first. So yeah. I wouldn't say we didn't win anything.
That's true. But, I can appreciate that.
But yeah, it comes down to the pre-finals and the finals. The last round, I knew Arias and I were, pretty close in the championship, and Aaron Benoit had a good lead, and so did Sebastian Montoya. And so I knew that, I had to get in there and just finish strong consistently in front of these guys as much as I could. And so, you look at on Saturday, Arias and I qualified pole, won the pre-final, and then in the final he beat me, but we ended up tying in points because of the pre-final and the fast lap and everything. So in the end, I had a slight advantage on him going into that day, and I kept that slight advantage all the way to the end of the week, and it was just because of pre-final wins and poles.
You're a veteran driver. You've got 4 championships on the Pro Tour. You've been with Rolison Performance for a couple of years right now. When you come into a weekend like this where you're battling for a championship, do you have the nerves still, or is it really just a game plan that you put out and say, hey, this is what I got to do. There's 6 sessions that I can score points on. This is what I got to get done.
Somewhat. I've done it enough to know that, you have a game plan, it's out the window after the first session. So I stopped worrying about, if I finish here, he finishes there. Okay. I just kind of, at this point, I'm just going as hard as I can every race to try and get up front. I do know, though, in the back of your head, I am keeping it it would be better to finish second here and just tie with him on points than to risk it, get a penalty, and drop down to 6th. That part goes through your head. But as far as game plan of I need to finish in front of him by 3%. If you just win the races and finish up front, normally you've got a great shot at it.
Championship takes care of itself. Yeah.
That's as far as you can go.
That was something I said in the debrief that's playing on EKN Radio Network right now, was that I wasn't at the first weekend, so I only saw what you did Saturday and Sunday. And it looked like the Ryan Norberg of 2019, where you were going out there to win every single session, as you said. And so was that that's why I think the question was that the mentality was just to go out and boom, get as much points as you possibly can and kind of see where the places fall. But in the main events, it kind of did look like you were kind of measuring up, okay, where do I need to be kind of once you get to the main event?
Yeah. there's truth to both of that. You know, I'm tired of losing. Last year was enough. And I really didn't like that I didn't win a race at the Pro Tour or win a race at the Winter Series. That really upset me. And then the fact that I lost another one that I crossed the line first at the first round really upset me. So there's a part of me wanting it really, really bad and wanting to be up front. That's like you said, every session I was trying to go out there and just dominate as hard as I could. But in the end, in the finals, you know, there's a part of me that, you know, the championship side that's like, take a breath and just be smart. You know, like it's better just to play it smart here. Like, even though I won it and I'm sweating so hard to catch the guys in front of me, there's a part of me that's like, you'll be all right. It's better to win the championship than to just crash and throw it all away. Like, come on with something.
This bodes the question then. If you win a championship without scoring a race win, how much does that affect the way you look at that championship? You know, obviously you need to have consistency to win a championship. They always say this. And I don't care what series you're in, IndyCar, NASCAR, Formula One, you have to have consistency. If you don't win a race, does it bother you that much? Even you have to,
Yes. Yeah. It's very, very frustrating because there's a part of, I don't know, in the paddock, driver to driver, you look down on the guys that win championships without winning races. Cause it's always like, you're like, I mean, you did it, but like, you know, I don't know. As a driver, I've always had not an issue with people that win championships that way. It's just always like, you know, that everybody's not looking at you as somebody that won the race. Like you just won the championship and people.
Hold on. The guy beside you there did the same thing. Don't be beating on Chase.
No, I'm not trying to. Chase did win a race too. You know, Chase crossed the line first too.
He won a race.
He won a race.
He crossed the line first too. So like, I'm sure he can I mean, right, Chase?
Yeah,
there's a little bit of like, you want to have like a win in the car.
To win.
Yeah, you want to stand on top of the podium at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, you want to let people know that like I won the championship because I went and I did it, not because you just were consistent.
But you have to be consistent.
Yeah.
That's it.
I can back up that feeling because once Chase came across the line as the winner and was in tech, he kept the helmet on because he knew he had that pushback bumper penalty. So you could see it in his eyes that he was upset that he didn't win the race. But you know, obviously he's a little bit smiley now that he has the championship in hand. So I can back that up.
So let's set up Chase now. We've talked to Ryan. We'll go to Chase. And Chase, we'll talk a little bit about this as well. Obviously, one of the cool things is this really was your first national program, national series. You've been running in NorCal with your dad. You guys said, hey, listen, we're going to go national racing in 2021. You come to the Winter Series with Rolison Performance Group. Out of the gate strong in January, qualify on pole. You know, a little bit of trouble at the start, got shuffled back, but you showed really well in January. You end up coming back, and David can attest to this, what you did in February. Some, again, really strong runs to win this championship. Before we talk about the championship, let's just talk about your first experience national level racing. How much of a difference was it running in NorCal to running at this level at the SKUSA Winter Series?
Yeah, it's definitely a totally different style of driving compared to like Northern California.
Okay.
The start, everyone defends, blocks the inside on the first couple laps. And I wasn't used to that in the first couple rounds, so I was just letting them down the inside and had to fight back to get my podiums. But by the last round and by the end of the race, I realized that I needed to start defending. So it was a lot better when you start defending and not have to have people pass you and pass them right back.
Well, I know your dad was probably chirping in your ear a little bit about that, but what about the guy beside you? Was Ryan trying to give you some coaching saying, hey, man, you cannot let the door be open like that?
I mean, yeah, everyone at RPG is always there. They just know what to do. So you have to, you've got 4 people after the session telling you, next time you just got to defend.
And I wouldn't say it was necessarily me. It's more Luke Selikin is I do data with the seniors plus, and Luke kind of does the minis at KAs, you know? And so Luke is a much harder coach than I am. And so I don't want Luke as my coach. He's so hard on these kids. And Chase takes it well. I mean, he's got his dad, so his dad's in his ear as well. Yeah. But Chase takes it like a veteran, but Luke's a hard coach. He's hard on these kids.
Okay. He's a Raleigh Junior.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
Chase, let's talk about coming in with the team when you first joined Rolison Performance Group. Against you and your dad in NorCal, but you end up coming and being part of this monster team, which has been such a powerhouse for the last number of years, easily one of the best teams in the country. What was that like? What was it like getting underneath that tent with so many guys you've probably been watching over the last couple of years run nationally?
Yeah, you definitely overwhelmed at first, and then now I'm starting to get used to it. Like, you know where stuff is. You don't have to ask where to get much, like just
all the basics, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about this now. You end up, how much different did you feel from the first weekend to the second weekend? You come into the first weekend of January at Homestead, your first national weekend. You did really well. You had a couple of pole positions, good speed. But then you get that month, you raced rock, but you get that month to come back to do it again at Homestead. How much different were you as a young driver from those two races?
I definitely learned a lot of the driving style. Like I said, I knew coming into the rounds 3 and 4, I had to do a lot of stuff differently than I did in the first couple rounds. But after rock, I continue to keep on learning the style of national level racing.
Yeah. Dave?
You were the only junior driver under the tent all weekend long, I think both weekends to begin with. Were you kind of working with the KA senior drivers a little bit to kind of help with setup and kind of track conditions and kind of measuring what they're doing and kind of help you with your setup and kind of racecraft a little bit?
Yeah, since KA senior is not too much different, same tire, there's a little bit faster. Like in the final on the round 4, I was only a 10th off the KA senior time. Yeah, we go on practice times, practice sessions, we go on new tires at the same time. They go up before me and say we can tell if the track's greasy or not, getting greasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, let's talk about the start of the year. Obviously, this past weekend, 1 win for Augustus Toniolo for RPG. I think you were 6 podiums and 9 top 5s overall from everybody in the tent. There's a lot of guys that showed good speed. How are you feeling in terms of the momentum and confidence within the? We don't have Mike on here, but for you as kind of the team leader, how do you feel that the momentum and atmosphere is with Rollison's group for this year?
It's good. It's strong. Yeah. Last year there was a bit of a lull at the Pro Tour, even though we won the X30 championship. As a team, I think everybody, because it was such a difficult week and it was constant racing all the time. Oh my gosh, it was constant. So everybody was just really worn out. And so by the end of the year, everybody was exhausted. And so to come back and to out the gate, I mean, before the penalties on Sunday, it was Toniolo won, and then Chase won, and then Nolan Allison was racing for the lead. And it was finished second. He was on the podium. It was, it was a good feeling. Everybody was in. It was nice to be over the fence cheering every session, and that's something that when everybody's involved and everybody's just in it for each other, it's contagious, and everybody starts just the atmosphere is so much higher and so much better in the tent. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season. This week, it's the same thing. We're going to this week head held high. We're excited with the new shifter drivers we got. Austin Garrison, he's racing shifter. So this is really exciting. Bringing him back to his home track, and we're all on. We're all on it this week. We're ready for it.
As you kind of talked about, everybody's kind of on board with everybody else, but especially in the X30 category, there's, almost at one time, I think 7 or 8 drivers, I think last year, all from the RPG tent. I think this weekend there were only 4. When you kind of go about setups, is everybody kind of working together in terms of following the same setup, or are there certain drivers that that you have to veer off and they kind of do their own thing because that's their kind of driving style?
It's different. We all talk, that's the big thing, is that we're all talking. But for example, Bryson Morris, to me, our setups are different. Bryson just loves this, just stock. He'll go out stock and just be fast. And I'm normally pretty quick on the standard cart, but I'll have to work on it. And Hannah's the opposite. Hannah likes a lot of front in her go-kart. So it's we'll talk to each other and oh, you like those rims? I didn't like those rims. What did you do? Okay. Did you like it? but it's more like, we have a baseline normally, and then you'll see like a different front bar, some more caster, less caster, something on kind of each go-kart. And I mean, when you have like 7 guys, like we did at Newcastle and for Vegas, I mean, it's hard to get 7 guys to run the same setup. It just doesn't work. You won't find that in any form of racing. 7 different guys on the exact same setup and all like it. We have tall guys, short guys. That's just the way it is.
So when you're pouring over the data, then as a team, obviously that's one of the big things to have more data. When you're pouring over the data and looking at the video, is it more you guys all looking at ways to get through a corner quicker as opposed to how to handle a chassis?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, a lot of it comes down, when you do data, it's sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I could brake later here. I see that, I'm braking later than you there. So I could try to brake later. But a lot of it is kind of like what you're talking about is working on the chassis. I go into a lot of the data that I do with the drivers with the assumption that they're driving as hard as they can. There's some times where I'm like, yeah, you could brake later there. But my assumption is that they are trying to brake as late as they can and they cannot. So I always go in with it as like, what can we do to help make you more comfortable so that you can brake to where I'm braking, or I can brake where Hannah's braking.
I like that. All right, let's kind of change this right now. What are we at? We're like about 17 minutes into this. Let's change this and move to Ocala. For those of you who are watching right now, or maybe once we turn this to a podcast or listening, we're talking with Ryan Norberg and Chase Hand from Rolison Performance Group, coming off a couple of championships, an X30 Senior and KA100 Junior, respectively, at the SKUSA Winter Series. You guys are already trackside. You've got 2 sessions already in. You're at Ocala right now for the Rock Cup Florida Winter Tour. What are we looking at for the rest of today? And what are your thoughts, expectations for this coming weekend? Ryan,
we got 2 more sessions today. So obviously, just kind of testing stuff out. It's still Wednesday though. So, I mean, there's not much to test, and it's Ocala. So there's only 7 corners. So it's, you can only do so much here. But yeah, just get some laps in. We were here earlier. Chase can probably talk about it a little bit, but we were here a few months ago testing and driving the other direction. That was Chase's one of his first experiences with the team as well. So it was, that was where he got to learn the track and learn everything. So yeah, we did a lot then, and it's on today to practice and get it all tuned together.
Dave?
Before we go to Chase, first, this is a new tire though at Ocala. You guys have never run this tire at Ocala. I don't think you even tested with it, did you?
I've done some coaching with Rob Meyer. He's our master driver. So I've done it at, what is it? What's the master's weight? 395 or something? That's
around there.
That's the testing. I've done the testing at 400 pounds. So it doesn't stop as good as it did in the senior. But yeah, so I've done some testing if that counts.
So really today and tomorrow are learning what the tire is going to be doing at Ocala, because obviously temporary circuit that you guys were at last month, it's a little different, obviously, because grip level comes as the weekend goes along, where Ocala is kind of the same throughout the day, unless it rains, and then it's a little different.
The biggest deal is, I don't know if you saw at the rock race, but the marbles that came off were super fine, and it was like shredding the tires, like strangely. It wasn't like the normal chunks that come off the tire, and the Bridgestones, obviously, they were having the delamination, so they're chunks that weren't part of just the regular marbles that came off. But that's something that everybody here is looking for, because the track at Pompano didn't really rubber up, but it was more like, is this just because it's a temp circuit and temp circuits don't rubber up, or is this tire, this is the first race we're actually at a real racetrack. So this is where we're gonna learn, does this tire rubber up? Do we get grip from this at the end of the week, or is it just kind of start at one pace and we'll kind of stay there? It might get a little grippier, like it was at Pompano.
Yeah, interesting. Chase, let's go to you now. It'll be your first race weekend at Ocala. What are your thoughts? Let's just talk about the racetrack itself. I told you before we came on, I got a chance to race it back in, I think, 2002, and I did like one race in the Winter Series, I think in 2008 as well, in a 4-cycle. What are your thoughts on Ocala?
Yeah, it's fairly simple, just a couple corners, and it's fairly technical track. Couple hairpins, and you just gotta keep your hands calm
It's going to keep you busy too because you got so many drivers. That's the one thing Ryan had mentioned, right? It stacks together the group a lot, Ryan, and I'm sure you guys are dialing Chase in on that to be ready for some pretty close racing.
Yeah, it's difficult. The best part, Chase did a good job on our test weekend when we were here. We put in a ton of laps. I mean, it's so easy to do 30 lap sessions here. So when we were here, we put in hundreds, and we probably did 200 laps in a day. So Chase knows his way around here. It's burned into his head. So he shouldn't have any difficulties, getting around the racetrack. But for sure, I mean, he hasn't got a chance to race these guys, and it's going to be an eye opener when you see how close the racing is and how you will never pull away and how it's almost always going to be somebody's right on your bumper every single corner.
Dave?
Do you have a favorite section, Chase, of Ocala? I know some people like the turn or the tree corner. Some people like just the fast section. What's your favorite section?
The tree corner is definitely my favorite corner. You just carry a lot of speed in, like as much as you can. Try and go throttle. This direction, you're trying to go throttle. You're trying to carry as much speed in, and the other direction you were trying to carry speed out because it was a straightaway exiting, but this way it's a straightaway entering. So yeah, tree corner is my favorite corner, and the showcase corner closest to the exiting entering.
I like that corner too.
I like that corner. It's the best on the track.
You just ripping it, right?
Yeah.
Which way are you guys actually going in this weekend?
Clockwise.
Clockwise. Okay, so down, back towards, then the big sweep.
Yeah, which I've never. I don't think. I mean, you could probably talk more about this than I can, but as far as I know, I've never raced a national race that direction. I
haven't either. I don't think I've been there for a national race in that direction.
I've like local stuff. I've driven it this way, but I don't think there's ever been since I've driven the Florida Winter. There's never been a race this direction.
I want to say I think there had to have been a Florida Winter Tour or some kind of rock race, or maybe even it was Rotax then.
That'd have been Rotax, I think.
Because I'm and probably Cody has photos. Cody Schindel probably has photos.
Probably.
So, I recall carts going that way, but I've never been there personally to see carts go that way. So I'm kind of tossed on which direction I would rather go, but I like the normal counterclockwise direction myself.
Yeah, for sure. This way is a bit different in the passing zones. It's a lot tighter. You can run a much tighter line. I'm really interested to see how the shifters get around here.
Follow the leader.
That's true. Especially coming all the way down that straightaway into the showcase corner, just ripping it. It'll be fast. All right, so let's cap off with this. Ryan, we know that you're going to go with confidence. You got 4 Pro Tour championships. You're going to try to be 5-time this year. You got 3 Winter Series championships. You literally won 7 championships in SKUSA competition in the last 5 years, which is crazy. Chase, let's come to you. Your first ever national level race, level series, the Winter Series. You win the championship. Do you have a lot of confidence right now going into this weekend? And how do you feel going into the Pro Tour when we get started at NOLA Motorsports in March?
Yeah, this Rock championship is it's pretty tight. We're not leading, I don't believe, coming into this weekend. But into Pro Tour, if we run X30, we might run X30 depending on how many KA Juniors there are. Okay. But it'll definitely be a stacked field if we run X30.
I love it, man. Well, listen, congratulations on your championship. It was fun watching you race. I got a chance to watch you in January. David, of course, was there to watch you get that title in the books in February. Ryan, what about you? 5th championship this year? What do you think?
Always, man. That's always the plan. Last year was frustrating, so I'm not doing that again.
You got to admit, it was probably a difficult, as you were talking about, being the team together was probably there for almost a month, because you guys were there testing and doing other things. And so I think everybody admits that Pro Tour was probably one of the toughest programs to ever be a part of, not to mention having 3 rounds of racing per weekend, let alone 2.
It also played that if one driver had the hot hand, you were going to be able to run the streak, right? That was it on the table.
Yeah, that's how it always is. But it didn't help that I kept messing up in qualifying. I think my average qualifying was like 15th. So I was finishing on the podium from 22nd in qualifying, which is really good. But you eat your tires up getting there. So it was always every day was you start off the day with getting punched in the face by starting second. And you're
Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for taking the time out. I know that you guys are back on track pretty soon, about 15 or 20 minutes, the lunch break at Ocala. We do appreciate you joining us. Ryan, Chase, thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for having us, man.
There they are, folks. Chase Hand and Ryan Norberg, the two champions for Rolison Performance Group from this year's SKUSA Winter Series. 3 championships down there at Homestead for Ryan. And, hey, David, I think Chase Hand will be a second-generation driver that we're going to see win some races here in 2021.
Yeah, it's good to see him move the transition quickly to national racing and get that first championship under his belt. Again, another one, we talk about moving up quick. This is a driver who took his time, raced a lot of regional racing, got settled in. They kept coming to SuperNat saying, yeah, we're going to come next year. And they waited.
That's right.
And they waited, and they were going to race it this past year, but didn't. And he's finally now made his move up into the national level scene. So it'll be exciting to watch him progress throughout the year.
Well, it's interesting, too, because, we talk a lot about how the parents are there. And we talked before we came on air about parents wanting to move their drivers up very quickly. When they're in try to move them from micro to mini as soon as you can, from mini to junior as soon as you can. And you and I are of the same thought, and Ryan and I, the three of us talked about it as well, that it's better to let your kid, your driver, stay longer in the class they're in so they learn how to win races. They learn how to battle for championships. And maybe that comes with either the competitive nature of a parent, or on the other side, for a guy like Joey Hand, he probably understands, I want my kid to develop and learn how to win. I think that's one of the big things.
Well, he understands the motorsports game. In all honesty, he understands it's not who gets there the quickest, it's who's going to be there the longest. And he's among those drivers who have been at the professional level for a lot of years. Michael Valiante is another one, and Michael McDowell. He's been at that professional level a long time. So it's not a race to get there. It's who's going to be there the longest and who's going to have a more successful career. So I think, it helps having a father who's been in the business and understands it a little bit better.
And let's not forget about Chase's mom too, because Natalie used to race as well, right? She was a karter as well. They're both kart racers, so they're both racing family. They both know what's going on. Obviously, great DNA for Chase, but I like the fact that they kept him at the regional level and then brought him up and gave him the opportunity to go racing. There's Natalie there. That's it. That's awesome.
Yep.
So yeah, cool that he's come up to national level racing and did his time at the regional level, and then made the right call to come with the Rolison Performance Group, where they can really kind of focus on his skills. And hey, who knew that Luke Selikin was such a badass coach, or at least such a hard coach?
A hard ass. I think. We already knew he was a badass, but now he's a hard ass too.
Well, let's be real. He came up through the Rolison Performance Group family, right? And it's pretty intense under that paddock, so that tent rather. So I don't think it should be any shock that he falls in the footsteps of Mike Rolison at all.
No, I'm the similar way with basketball. I kind of follow what my coach did back in the day, and so now, I understand. You're coached a certain way, you kind of coach other people that way too.
Yeah, that's it, man. You're used to it. Well, listen, great opportunity for us to talk to the winners of this past weekend's SKUSA Winter Series. David, you had a chance to see it full, in person. The next time we do this is going to be probably a couple of weeks from now, right? Yeah, a couple of weeks. Yeah, so David will be heading out to the Challenge of the Americas race, the second rounds at Fontana at Cal Speed Karting, and then we'll do it again after the USPKS opener at Ocala as well. But yeah, Dave, your next race heading out to what do you call it? California, back out to Fontana.
Fontucky.
That's going to be a big race.
Should be a record breaker, and maybe we'll talk to some different people, because maybe we'll have some different winners that weekend. Yep. Again, it's only the middle stop of the championship chase, so we'll probably talk to some winners rather than like what we did here with two champions in Ryan Norberg and Chase Hand. But it should be an exciting weekend. 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks now, before next weekend, actually, before we head down to.
It's literally
I keep forgetting.
Not this weekend, but next weekend. Yeah,
next weekend. Yeah,
you leave in a week, dude. You're back on the plane in a week and a day.
Yeah. It's going to be everything's busy until April. That's for sure.
Oh my God, flat out, guys, flat out. Hey, listen, those of you in EKN Nation, thanks for tuning in here on the YouTube channel. If you're not a subscriber yet, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button. We do appreciate it. If you're a podcast fan, don't worry. We'll turn this into a podcast as well. It will be available on the EKN Radio Network and all the podcast platforms. David will get that dialed in as well. But you can always come to the YouTube page, our YouTube channel for all the content that we're putting out here as well. And again, as David said, we're so busy rolling out. We'll have the outlap for the Challenge of the Americas race. We'll probably record that next Tuesday or Wednesday.
Tuesday.
To get you dialed in for the event there. Tim Chapman will be on the PA on that one. I'm not making the trip to Fontana. But Dave, otherwise that cap things off. Any other thoughts?
I will probably buy an In-N-Out burger, take a picture of it, and throw it in the trash just for you.
You will not do that. You couldn't do it.
I can't waste that food.
You can't do it. You can't do it. All right, folks, we're going to cap things off here from Face to Face. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we wrap up, David Cole, happy birthday. Once again.